In this video, we're going to have a look at some different types of shoes and see how they impact your gym performance. First thing we're going to consider is biomechanics and how shoes influence it. So as you can see, these runners, which are all standard things that you'll see in the gym, have an elevated heel and they like slope downwards towards the toes. So all of them have this, and it's by design. It's to reduce running stress and all this other stuff. These Nike and Adidas engineers think that they're smarter than evolution, which fucking silly. But what happens is when you elevate your heel, you're going to get increased quad activation because your center of mass is shifting a little bit. And from that increased quad activation, it means that we're no longer getting as much activation in the glutes. And it's going to, over time, lead to a stretching and weakening of the posterior muscles in the back of your legs. Obviously not what we want, especially girls. When you're going to the gym, you want to work your glutes and your hammies and the back of your legs a lot more than the front a lot of the time. So your shoes, if they've got an elevated heel, will be preferentially activating your anterior thigh muscles, not your glutes. All right, 2, physics. In physics, there's a thing called a normal force. And the normal force is described by Newton's third law of motion, where every force in nature has an equal but opposite reactionary force. So if I was to push into something, I would get pushed back with the force that I've generated into that object. If you could imagine me doing a jump right now, I would be pushing a force into the floor, and the floor would exert a normal reactionary force back up at me, and that would actually cause me to lift into the air. So when we're doing things with weights and stuff, this concept of force transfer is really important. If you look at these shoes, they are literally engineered to absorb shock. Shock is a rapid changing acceleration with respect to time. And studies that have looked at people running with these shoes and actually prove that they do absorb and dissipate shock. Given that shock's associated with force, we can surmise that these shoes are actually built to dissipate and absorb some of the forces that we experience. If we're trying to lift the most efficiently, we don't want our force that we've generated being absorbed by these fucking shoes. We want it perfectly reflected up at us from the floor so that we can move the most weight possible. And when we do that, we're placing the muscles under the most mechanical tension and increasing the amount of growth that we'll experience. 3, stability. So when you've got a joint that is unstable, you will not be able to produce the most amount of force through it. Physios, chiros, osteos will all know that if you've got a compromised joint, the muscles aren't going to work properly that are attached to it. So when you look at shoes, these things, the soles are built with like airs, foams, gels. They can compress, they can move around, they're flexible, they're adaptive, they're reactive, they're bouncy. They're not built to be stable. Shoes like this, for deadlifts, squats, all the other stuff associated with legs, are by far the best choice. So make sure you